Hi, Mom.
Hi, daughter.
Today's question is directed more personally to you, and it's about why did you start doing restorative yoga and why did you write this book?
Well, I first got introduced to the use of props when I studied with BKS Iyengar, and so I was aware of the use of props, but I thought of them as a therapeutic aid for people who, for example, when they were bending over, couldn't touch the floor, so you used the seat of a chair or the yoga blocks or something else. But then I was teaching in Canada
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s, mid 80s maybe, and it was a two classes Saturday, two classes Sunday format, and the Sunday final class, there was a big storm that rolled across the prairies, and so we lost the power, the electrical power in the room where we were practicing. So it was a little, we could see, but it was a little darker. And so I thought, oh, what am I going to do? We can't really do things. So I just said, here, take this bolster, lie over this bolster. And while I figured out what to do next. And people liked it so much, I said, okay, now try this with a bolster. Now try that. And pretty soon I taught a restorative class. It was like a drive-by restorative.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened. And they loved it, and it was great. And it got me out of a jam of how to keep people from practicing with flashlights. And but then I didn't do it again for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then gradually I would do a couple of poses, but the thing that spurred me on was the loss of my brother, your uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt a lot of grief, and I didn't really feel like doing standing poses and handstand and bakasana. I and so I started doing, especially supported Supta Baddha Konasana and other
Mm-hmm.
restoratives. And I found that I would like to stay, maybe 45 minutes to an hour in this place of being held and supported, literally supported, because when we support our body like that,
Mm-hmm.
we when we support our body like that, the experience is that our whole lives feel supported. In other words, neurologically, when we support ourselves, we feel emotionally supported, socially supported, uh, and everything. So I had that experience, and then I had the idea.
Your cell phone is going crazy.
I know. Hold on. Pardon. Um, this is the modern world. So I found that when I supported my body in that way, I felt emotionally supported.
so
So
so wait, so let me ask. So you were you still studying with Mr. Iyengar at that time?
I hadn't been studying with him for a while at that point, but what I was going to say was it was as if the earth in the form of the props, the universe in the form of the props,
Mm-hmm.
had risen up to hold me
Mm-hmm.
and to support me, and I could really let go. And a lot of grief has to do with not letting go. A lot of grief has to do, which is such a normal process. I don't think we recognize and appreciate loss in our culture and grieve enough for good losses, for transitions, for children leaving home, for all the changes that happen in our lives. They're bittersweet. They might be wonderful, but also there's a loss every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that day is gone forever, and another day of my life is gone, and so we don't recognize loss. And so one of the things that I found through this practice was that letting go on a profound level in the context of being supported,
Mm-hmm.
not just letting go into some void, but into this shape, into this form, into this uh, expression of a concrete expression of divine love, if you will, or support that made such a huge difference in my life. And then, because the other thing with grief is you often don't sleep well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a perfect antidote, if you will. And I got so this sounds strange, paradoxical. I got so excited about doing nothing in that way.
So so first of all, how long did this period last where you were doing such intense restorative poses? And did that completely supplant your asana practice at the time? Were you also doing triangle pose, or did it completely wipe it away for the time?
Well, I did mostly restoratives for a year, and gradually over the year, I would miss the stretching part. So
Mm-hmm.
I would add that in, and then I proposed uh, to my friend who has a publishing company. I had this idea. I'd like to write a book on restorative, and the idea was extremely well received, and so I wrote the book, and I
Was that
dedicated
was
I
that the
dedicated it to my brother.
yeah, was that the first book, or was Living Your Yoga first?
No, that was the first book.
Aha, I didn't realize that.
That was my very first book, um, and uh, I wanted to call it Deep Rest because
Mm.
that's what I'd experienced, but my publishers felt it sounded too much like depressed, which is the opposite. Depression is the opposite of rest. Depression depression is an internal agitation, and
Uh-huh.
that's one reason people who are depressed can't sleep well and their hormonal balance is off. And the stress of grief and the stress of no sleep um, throws off the hormonal balance. So it was a very powerful learning, and uh, I think if you're a teacher, if you're somehow dharmically a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
if you are born a teacher, that there is um, an incontrovertible connection. You can't avoid the connection that as you learn, and not just learn with your head, but in your cells and integrate into your body some awareness, some understanding, there you cannot but want to share that.
Mm-hmm.
Because from your own experience, all things that we share from our own deep experience have power to help
Mm-hmm.
other people. And when we teach from that heart of compassion, we will help people we'll never even meet.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lovely residue, in conclusion, the lovely residue of the book is having people come to me and say, I taught this to my mom when she was in the hospital. I used this while my son was going through a very difficult period and we didn't know if he was going to pull out of it. I used this when I was pregnant and couldn't sleep, and this really helped me. And so I think that part of what yoga practice is returning to our natural heart of compassion and acting from it.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about the phone. Life happens. Namaste, my darling dog.
Namaste, Mama.